Everyone has a story. I get them to tell it. Welcome to the Aron Bender Podcast, conversations with media personalities about their personal and professional lives and journeys. Thank you so much for joining me, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, or another of your favorite platforms. You can also watch the Aron Bender Podcast on YouTube or nightly at 11 on DB&A TV at dbandatelevision.tv or streaming with the DB&A TV app on Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV. Before we get to my conversation with Liberté Chan, a little about my story. I'm a widowed dad of two girls who just lost their mom, a grieving husband, a man in recovery trying to reconnect with the world with fresh eyes, faith, and perspective, a college journalism professor, a white guy in a world of injustice, a 20-year broadcast media veteran who had his dream job and then lost it. A year and a half ago, God gave me a gift, an opportunity to stop, step back, and breathe so I could learn about love, vulnerability, forgiveness, grace, self-care, patience, and understanding. Liberté Chan is one of my favorite people ever. She's been with KTLA for years, is now on KTLA Unscripted. You can watch that weeknights at 7 o'clock. For nearly a decade, she was the meteorologist on the KTLA Weekend Morning News. We first talked a couple of years ago for my previous podcast, and to say that a lot has changed since then is an understatement. Let's catch up with Liberté Chan.
A whole lot has changed. So the good, the bad, it's just life. It's a lot of positive, a lot of negative, and you just try to make the best out of it, right?
Let's just jump right into it. Tell me about Mama Chan, because when I read, I know we're just going to dive right into it because there's no point in working up to the tears. There's no point in working up to all the emotional stuff that we should talk about. But my goodness, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. When we originally spoke 2 years ago, she was sick. I think I had just had my birthday, my Alice in Wonderland birthday, and she wanted to make it a big deal because she knew she was sick and dying. But she was a very private person, and she didn't want me to say anything, so I just carried that secret with me. But yeah, that was a tough one. It's like, even though that someone is likely going to die, she had pancreatic cancer. I don't think anything prepares you for the moment it happens and the months that happen after that. I think I've been in a daze, or I was in a daze for at least 6 months. I don't know how it worked. I don't know how I showed up. I don't know how I got through life, but you do. But yeah, I think about her every day. I had a dream about her last night. And yeah, it's just, you see signs everywhere and you know that they're still here and they're still with you, but I guess the pain isn't so, it's still very, very painful, but I think you learn to live with the pain and learn to manage it a little bit more so that you're not crying 24/7.
Right. And I think as people ask me, like, hey, how are you doing? How are the girls doing?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever replied with, we're great. or like, because, if you would have asked me at any point prior to, 6.5 months ago, maybe the answer might have been closer to great, or, yeah. But now it's just like, we're okay. We're okay. Today's a good day, kind of depending on who's asking. Like, do they want to get micro on us? Oh, you know what? 3 hours ago, I was a mess. I was just a puddle.
Exactly.
But a lot of it is just, we're getting through it together.
Exactly.
We're getting through it together.
And that's all you can do. And my heart goes out to you. When I heard, my heart was breaking for you. So I'm sending you so much love and light, and you and your children. So I'm so sorry.
Thank you. Yeah. And how is the rest of your family doing with it all?
You were getting through it. I think, death is interesting. It teaches you a lot about life. It teaches you what's important. It certainly shifted my perspective tremendously. And now, I wasn't a girl who grew up saying, I love you to my siblings, to my mom, my dad. I always, occasionally, but my mom's Chinese. We generally didn't do that. We generally didn't hug a lot. But we showed our love in other ways. So I always knew I was very, very loved. But it's just not that typical. Let me give you a hug. Let me say I love you every time I see you and leave you,
Right.
But now with my brother Corey, we've gotten really, really close, and we've always been very close. But every day I talk to him, and every time I get off the phone, love you. He says, I love you back. Last night, I said, good night, love you. He texted me back, love you, good night. So it's different. Like I said, I think death just teaches you a lot about life and priorities.
It's interesting that you say that as somebody who, I mean, if anybody knows you even peripherally from social media, they know that you have this perspective on life and light and energy, and they feel like you're connected. And yet here you are through this, I mean, incredibly sad and tough situation. You're like, oh, wow, I can now gain even more perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, I think in her death, she sort of rebirthed me, if that makes sense. It's as if I was always a daughter. I was always, the little ice skater as a kid. I was always the little reporter girl, the little weather girl, meteorologist, always just going out there traveling. And I was Mama Chan's daughter,
Right.
and she was always the matriarch, very, very powerful force in our family, the queen mother, if you will, tiger mom. And then when she passed, there was a void, and it's like, well, who else is going to step into that role? And so Luis, my fiance, said, well, this is what you have to do, because there's no one else who can do it. And I remember one time, he probably said it about 6 months ago, and I said, I don't want to do that. Like, it's not my job. Like, I always want to just be, the daughter, the one who is going to call her mom and have her mom take care of everything, the one who's going to plan the wedding, the one who's going to plan the next birthday, the next trip around the world. But there is no one who can do that now. So I'm so grateful that she did all that while she was here, and I'm grateful that she taught me how to do it so that I'm not left without the skill or the tools. But sometimes you need a good kick in the booty from who loves you to tell you that.
Did you ever feel like, because of all, the ice skating, the reporter girl, the meteorologist, you're doing a lot of this so that you can gain her favor, her approval, and her love? You've already talked about, like, hey, we weren't the type of people to be like, hey, I love you, mom. Let's snuggle tonight, So you had other ways of showing her, like, hey, I love you, through that performance I just did on the ice skating rink, but
Yeah,
I love you.
exactly.
So did you get to a point where you had a conversation with her, or you reached an understanding with her, like, I don't have to perform anymore. I know I've made her proud, or perhaps she has told you that?
I think she did. I think she did. Yeah, I'm gonna
I
try.
know. I was like, just make it through the question, Aaron. Just make it. Just make it.
Gosh. Okay. Yeah,
So, I knew I
I
I
know.
I have set up my studio so perfectly today, except for the handkerchief that I knew I was going to need.
I have my water. I have my Mama Can roses, but I don't have tissue.
Yeah,
So, thank you.
we're just gonna have
Sorry.
to deal with it. We're
Sorry
just
and
gonna have
thank you,
to.
I guess,
Yeah.
whichever way you look at it. Um, did she ever say, I'm proud of you? Yes. Did she ever say, I'm proud of you, but I know you can do more? Yes. Um,
Yes.
and I think that's always what she taught me. It's like, you are only as good as your last performance. That's what I would always hear as a kid. You are only as good as your last show. It's like, great, you set a goal, you accomplish it, and then what's the next goal? What's the next mountain you climb? Because life doesn't stop. Um, but yeah, she did say that she was proud of me, and she also, I actually kept it in a text. She said that my dad also passed away in 2017, I believe, and she said, Tom was always the most proud of you. And I've kept that in my phone, you know, just as a reminder, because sometimes you forget, and it's nice.
Screenshot it 80 times just so that you know it's never lost, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
You mentioned Luis. Did he get to meet Mama Chan?
He actually met her. Oh, I just got the chills. She's like swooping in right now.
She's like, I know you're talking about me. Here I am.
He's like, oh yeah, I met him. Yeah, I met him on a plane coming back from a family trip. I was with my mom and my brother. She was very, very sick at the time, but she was a powerhouse. She's like, we are going to go to an F1 race twice, or, you know, in the last year of her life. She's like, we're going to go to the one in Monaco, we're going to go to the one in Singapore, and then we're going to stop in Tokyo on the way, and Paris, and this and that. She was queen of, you know, travel. So she planned those trips, and she wasn't well enough to actually go to the races with us. And I don't know, just backstory, my family has been following Formula One racing, you know, for the past 2 decades at least. So it was always very special to us. And since my dad loved it, we still wanted to continue to go, and my brother loves it. So anyways, we were in Monaco at the Formula One race. Then we went to Morocco. Then we went to Paris. And on the plane flight back from Paris to LA, I walked on the plane, and I'll never forget it. My brother was behind me and my mom was behind me, and I was walking to my seat. They were sitting together and I was sitting next to someone, and that someone was Luis. So my brother looks at me and he says, hey, Lib, do you want to switch seats? Just because you don't know if the guy's creepy or, you know, slimy, whatever. You don't want to spend 10, 12 hours next to a creepy guy. So I look at him and I said, no, I'm okay. And I sat down next to him. We didn't say anything, but there was this automatic, I feel comfortable next to this guy, and I'm sort of intrigued. I don't know where he's from, you know, but I was sitting on the aisle, and I just thought to myself, gosh, you know, if he has to get up to use the restroom, like, I hope he knows that I'm a nice person and to like tell me and not hold it. You know, I just cared for him for some odd reason. I was like,
is this what you think about when you get on a plane? All of these things?
Yes. I'm very aware, and I'm very, you know, I want everyone to be comfortable. So yeah, so we sat next to each other for 8-9 hours, and then it was when I was eating, because I'm constantly eating and I'm snacking. I was snacking on granola, and he looks at me and he goes, are you vegan? And I said, yes. And I thought, oh no, I'm gonna like,
here we go.
Here we go.
I'm sitting next to the you know, the European salesman for the American Beef Association,
exactly.
and
like,
we're just
why do you beef? Yeah. but he said to me, he goes, you know, I wish I was vegan. I was vegan for 2 years and I loved it, and I never felt better, but I have this condition where I can't eat like legumes and certain like soy products. So I had to go back to meat. And I said, oh, and then we just started talking and couldn't stop talking for 45 minutes. My mom, meantime, was sitting next to me, or there was the aisle and she was like one seat there. And she kept looking at me like, you never talk to people. Like, I'm very much in my own world, you know, I'm doing
the
like,
earbuds have come out. You're like, yeah.
So he just caught me off guard, and we had a conversation, and, you know, the conversation was primarily about veganism and yoga. And by the end of the conversation, I really wanted him to go to a yoga class with his daughter who was down in Coach, and he's like, and then his son kept coming over, and he's like, dad, you know, like it was just such a interesting way to meet someone. But we ended up really connecting, and he had a connection with Formula One. And so at one point I actually switched seats with Corey, my brother, and he sat with him for 45 minutes, and they hit it off. And by the time I got off the plane, my brother said to me, that's the kind of guy you should date. And I look at him and I go, really, Corey, a guy with 3 kids? No, I'm not into it. Like, no, not what I'm looking for, but thanks. He's like, no.
A guy with 3 kids, you just met him on a plane. Yeah.
And Corey goes, no. He's like, that's the kind of guy. He's definitely an overachiever. And yeah, I think, you know, he works in finance, so he understands your hours of work. He's like, maybe he has friends. If you're not into him, like, you know, maybe he has friends. So yeah, that's how we met.
So how quickly after that did you change your mind?
You know, I couldn't get him out of my mind. And I asked for his email because
You asked for his.
I asked for his email. He didn't ask for my number or
Oh,
anything like
Luis,
that.
well done. Luis,
He was
forget
actually
finance, Luis. You need to write a how-to book. You need to
right.
write. I mean, forget the office, Luis. Forget Bitcoin or Doge or whatever whatever you're flying to the moon right now. It's a how-to book, Luis.
Right. How to get the girl next to you to ask you for your contact information. So, I mean, it was basically because I love my brother. I would do anything for Corey. And he had a connection with Formula One, and I knew we were going to another race in September. I had met him in late May, early June. And so I was like, oh, I'll connect with him before the next race and maybe we'll, get to meet one of the drivers. So it was really because of that. But
you're just using him. I understand. I hear you. I hear you. Yes.
But because I love my brother so much and they had hit it off. So I just wanted to make sure. Meantime, Corey had already gotten his contact information. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So he's from LA?
So Luis,
or like how did that work out? Because it's like, hey, I've met this great person on a plane. Oh, it's fantastic. They live nowhere near me.
Right, exactly. So, stars aligned. He is from Peru. He came here when he was 17. He went to Ohio State. He was recruited on a tennis scholarship, and then he just never left. He got married to a woman from Ohio, had 3 beautiful kids. Unfortunately, the mom, his wife, passed away from cancer about 10 years ago. So he raised all 3 kids by himself. And then he moved out here about 8 years ago.
That's the how-to book I need. Forget the plane. Forget meeting Liberty on the plane. I need that how-to book. Thank you.
Right? Oh my God. He is the best father ever. And when I started to see how he was with his kids, even on the plane, because they kept coming over and asking questions.
Oh, that's a huge test right there. I mean, kids on a plane anyway, but oh yeah, that's okay.
And I say kids, they're 20. I mean, they're 20, 21, and 25.
Still, yeah.
I mean, if I actually gave birth to them, I would have been a teen mom, but that's okay. It's okay. Like, they're awesome. They're awesome kids. But it's really a testament to the type of person he is and the father. Like, he did an incredible job. Just, he had to be father and mother, every day. So you can talk to him about it.
Yeah, I think I will. I'll reach out. We DM every now and then because I congratulate him on the progress he's made, because you get Liberty Chan in your life, you're going to make some improvements and some changes, okay? And he certainly has. Oh, you know what? You know what?
What?
You were looking for, like, okay, how can I be a Mama Chan to somebody and inspire them and to push them to work harder? I think if I asked Luis, he probably would say, yeah, that's what's happening.
Thank
you. In such a beautiful way. Yeah.
Thank you so much. But back to Mama Chan and Luis. So he met her. So the day I met Luis, he met Mama Chan, and she has never ever liked anyone who I dated. She did not sign off on anybody. Maybe one person in my 20s, but that was about it. Maybe. But aside from that, she really liked him. And even when she was sick, we showed up, we went to the movies, we had lunch, we had dinner a couple times, and then she just got too sick, a few months later. But she really liked him.
And again, with the timing, and I apologize for kind of dwelling on this, but the timing of it as it related to the pandemic, her sickness as it related to the pandemic, did she pass before things started locked down so you could be with her?
Well, it was interesting because right when, so she passed March 24th, and I think a week prior to that, LA pretty much went on lockdown.
Yes.
But I was still working, as a journalist, as a meteorologist, news doesn't stop. You just kind of adjust your behavior going to work. So there was no traffic. And so I got to work very quickly. But I still worked. I worked the day that she died. And that's what she would have wanted. You know, it's like she didn't want a whole lot of people fussing over her. She was a great caregiver to my father, but she wasn't the best patient. She just didn't like a lot of people around her. She didn't like people doing stuff for her. So even when she'd rather crawl to the bathroom, you know, versus me trying to carry her, you know. So that's the type of person she was. But yes, I mean, I was there when she took her last breath, and I think that's very special. I've read, and people have told me that, you know, when a person chooses to leave us and transition, it's very special who is right there next to them. So I take that as a blessing. And then my brothers came back about 5 minutes after that happened, and you know, the dog was in the room with us, and it just it's weird. I've never been next to someone who passed, and you realize that the body is just this vessel, and it's the soul's gone. The soul's, you know, in another space, but I just got the chills. It's hard. It's really, really hard, but very special.
Yeah. By the time my wife went back into the hospital in November of last year, she probably should have already gone to the hospital a few times in recent months, but because of the pandemic, no visitors, things like that. So she's like, I can't do that. It messed with her mentally when she was admitted back in May and June. And so I was there the afternoon and evening that she stopped breathing. And then she spent the next day and a half on a ventilator in the ICU. And she was done. You know, the doctors said as much. They said if she has another cardiac event, we can't do anything, you know, to help her. But to your point, like I was there when my grandfather took his last breath when I was 24, give or take, you know, something like that. But with a grandparent, you expect that.
Right.
He's in hospice. Right. You know, when they call us to say it's time, it's like, okay, you can mentally prepare. She stopped breathing at about 5:30 on a Tuesday afternoon. That morning, she texted me asking to make sure I had her going home stuff.
Oh,
asking like, hey, you know, just in case we don't have it, you know, because I was there every day. Thankfully, the people at UCLA Santa Monica, they allowed a visitor in their oncology unit, so I was there every day, and she texted me that morning like, hey, make sure that I have going home stuff.
Did you save the text?
And oh yeah, I've saved all the texts. It's hilarious though. Like she on her phone, she had the I'm not going to keep any texts after 1 week or 30 days. So yeah. I don't know, and I didn't know about that setting. So after she passed, I've got her phone, and I would just hold on to her, and then I'm watching these messages disappear day by day, and I'm like, why are they disappearing? And of course I didn't figure it out until it was too late. But I have the messages she sent me, but but when she stopped breathing, it was sudden, it was unexpected, and so I totally get where you're going and where you are with it's just a vessel, and you know, the soul goes on to bigger and better things. Yeah. You know? Yeah. But I have that, and I'm so thankful that I'm the only one in the family with that vision, with that memory, with that visual stuck in my mind, because I actually talk to my therapist more, I think, about that than almost anything else. Yeah. Just that visual of her not breathing, them working on her, them pulling me aside and asking like, hey, do you want us to keep going? You know, it just, and and again, to your point earlier, the idea that the perspective you get
Mhm.
with somebody close to you dying,
Mhm.
it's it's unmatched.
It
It cannot be replicated.
it really is, and I think it's different for everyone. How did it change your perspective?
I mean, all of last year changed my perspective. Losing my job in 2019 and spending all and not exactly knowing why, that like why now. I knew why. I deserved it. Don't get me wrong, but just the like why now? Why? And then of course 2 months later we learn her cancer is back. 2 months after that the pandemic takes hold. I was supposed to be home, you
Mhm.
know. And just the for me it was the perspective of responsibility
Yeah.
and uh, and not trying to control the outcome
Yeah.
of every situation. I do what I can today and I give the rest to God.
Exactly, exactly. And that's a powerful way of living. And I think it's a much easier way of living because you can't control anything except your attitude and how you show up in the world, right? That's it.
How was your relationship with Luis? You've got the pandemic, you've got the passing of your mom. Where was that relationship? Now you're engaged, so obviously we know everything went well, right? It was perfect. But
Right,
but
right, right.
but how did you navigate that in such a relatively new relationship?
You know, he was so incredibly supportive, and right when my mom passed, he didn't leave my side for a week. He was like, you know what, I've been through this. I don't know where you're going to be. I'm just going to be here if you need me. I'm going to be, making food. I'm going to be here if you need to cry. I'm going to be here if you need to talk. I'll be here if you need to go for a walk around the block. Whatever you need, just know that I'm here. So, just extremely supportive. And he just, like I said, he just never left my side. And he was such an anchor and such a rock in such a tough time. And he's an advisor, so that comes out in every aspect of his life. So he really just helped me and my brothers kind of navigate through that really, just for lack of a better word, shitty time. you know
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
I I found out so much in the 2 to 3 weeks after my wife passed about finances, about like well, I mean just the idea that the Social Security survivor benefits, had no idea those existed until a week after she passed. And I talked to an advisor because I knew I'm like she's got 401ks, she's
Yeah.
got life insurance, or like how do I navigate this?
Yeah, yeah. It's really difficult. And we were actually, it was funny. You said when Liberty comes into your life, like, he never had Instagram before until, we got together. I think it took about 6 months for him to get him on Instagram. And now I'm kind of his quote unquote social media manager, and I've grown his account. Um, so if anyone wants to follow him, you can. But, but no, but
Links are in the show notes.
exactly. So, but his platform is all about, he's very similar to me in that he wants to lead from a positive place. He wants to encourage others to do the same. He wants to educate people. And before he became an advisor and partner in his firm, he, wanted to be a professor. So it's kind of in his blood to teach and to just share his knowledge. And I think that that's really special because he's very, very smart. And I think it's important for people to kind of give back that way. So a lot of his posts are about, financial information. But we were just discussing, I'm bringing this full circle, I promise. We were just discussing a post yesterday about the cost of dying, and how you need to set some stuff up, have a living will before things happen. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say thankfully because I don't think that's the appropriate word here, but from a financial standpoint, um, only speaking from a financial standpoint, she chose cremation, which I was happy about because as I'm at that mortuary looking at all the different options and prices,
Mhm.
I again, if we're just being transparent, I was like, thank you for choosing cremation. You know,
Do
and
you
she,
know- Yeah.
I shouldn't say choosing. She actually talked with our daughters and
Mhm.
explained the
Mhm.
differences between, okay, cremation, I'm here at home.
Mhm.
I'm here all the time. If I'm buried, we go to a cemetery and you visit. And the girls chose cremation.
Oh,
But that's the type of conversation she would have. These conversations that I was doing my best just to take notes all last year,
yeah.
knowing that her time is short. Didn't know how short, but knowing that that the time was coming.
It's funny that you just shared that because Mama Chan, she was a planner and she has files, lots of files in her office, and there was one on death, dying, something like that.
Yeah.
And she planned the whole thing, the whole cremation, the whole, there's going to be an urn, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It's all paid for. You guys are going to get this, each of the three of you are going to get this rose, and that's going to be part of my ashes and this and that, so you can keep it in the house. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, I guess when you're about to pass, you do think about those things.
Like, I don't have what happens when I die, that plan. I don't have that plan yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I'm working on the estate, I'm working on the living will, because it's like, oh, by the way, I'm now it. It was much easier
Yeah.
to navigate her finances as her spouse.
Exactly. But now
Once something happens to me, oh, and we're talking about minor children, we're talking about all these things. It is, I mean, it would be a jungle for anybody to navigate. And oh, by the way, navigate while you're grieving.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, it's heavy. It's stuff that you never want to talk about, but you have to talk about, because if you love your loved ones, you love your family, you don't want to leave them with all of these questions and you loose ends.
As somebody we've talked about, and again, anybody who knows you finding this podcast, they know Liberté Chan, they know this beacon of positivity, which I think, by the way, might have actually been the title of our first podcast a couple of years ago. But how did you maintain that, or what happened to that positivity as you navigated such heavy waters last year with your mom passing and the pandemic?
Yeah. Oh, wow. It was a tough year. It was a heavy, tough year.
Yeah.
But you can't just carry that with you or you're going to drown. You just have to shift your perspective. And I couldn't change anything, but the only thing I could change was my perspective. And I know that we've talked about that before. And so that's how I really try to live my life. As a kid, I dealt with an unstable home life, until my stepdad came into my life when I was 14. But prior to that, it was very unstable. So there have been so many struggles, and I didn't have the tools to deal with quote unquote hardships and grief and loss and challenges, whatever you want to call it. But it's yoga. It really is. Yoga was my safe place that has helped me get through everything. And it's gotten me to this very, I'd say, peaceful state, this content state where, there are days when I'm very happy, but there are days when I'm also very sad. But it's kind of that in between that I want to stay on. It's that contentment that I really strive for.
But also understanding and accepting, like, okay, sometimes I am that pendulum is going to swing over here, and I'm just going to ride through it. And other times it's going to swing to a very dark, negative place in my mind, body, and soul, and I'm just going to have to ride that out. I used to, when I would feel that pendulum swinging, I would do everything I could to either stop it from swinging or to not feel the pounding of that pendulum against the door of despair. Wow,
that's good.
Wow.
Put that in a book.
Okay, hold on. Mark the tape. Wow.
Time code.
I am old. I just said mark the tape.
I'm like, give it that TC.
Yes. All right, here we get 34.
I think it was about
Okay.
34 minutes into
Yes,
the
yes, we are 34 minutes in. Fantastic. No, so let's not leave everybody listening to this in just this. Wow, those two just got dark for like 30 minutes straight. What are they doing?
Right.
A few months ago, big announcement on the KTLA Weekend Morning News that Liberty was leaving or Liberty was doing something or whatever. And I caught the very tail end of it. I'm like, of course, she's got Luis. She's just leaving the business. She is gone. And I'm sure everybody, lots of other people thought the same thing. You're retiring, you're doing this, but no, you're not. You're not. You're stepping away from the Weekend Morning News and you're fully embracing, along with a lot of your fun colleagues, KTLA Unscripted. Tell me about it.
Okay, so a reason I keep getting all of these messages. Why are you not on the news? Where are you? I still get that on a daily basis. So
of course, yeah.
Here's the deal. I was on the Weekend Morning Show for 8 years. I loved it so much. I would leave early from trips abroad. I would wake up before the alarm went off. Like, I loved my job. I was so passionate about it. I worked really hard. I went back to school. I got a meteorology degree, even though nobody asked me to do it. In LA, you don't need it because it's 72 degrees and sunny most of the time. But when we talked about this, I just wanted that confidence and I wanted the education.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And honestly, the bona fides. I mean, if nothing else, you say, I am not a weather girl. I am a meteorologist.
Right.
I am a woman who does the weather as I am a meteorologist. Damn it.
Right. Exactly. So that was just important to me. That's another thing that Mama Chan taught me, education is everything. So she gave me that gift again. But so I just felt like a couple years ago, when Chris Burrows passed, something shifted on the show. I really liked it, but I really enjoyed working with him. We were really good friends at work, and something just changed in the show. And then all of a sudden, I started to not love going to work. I liked it, but that the magic behind it was fading. And so I kept thinking to myself, what's going on? It's like, I used to think to myself, oh my gosh, I get to go to work. And all of a sudden now I have to go to work. And I'm like, what is this? Like, I don't want to live my life doing something I don't love. And then when Mama Chan passed, you really start to notice what's important to you in life. And it's at the end of her life, she kept saying, I just need more time. It was all about time. Don't waste my time. I don't have enough time. She had so many plans for the next, 20 plus years. We were going to do a design show together. She wanted me to do a travel show, just something surrounding lifestyle. So that seed had been planted. And when she passed, I thought, time is so precious. It's so valuable. What do I want to do while I'm here? We're all given this very short amount of time on this planet. How do I want to spend it? Do I want to spend it doing something that brings me joy, or do I want to just go through the motions and it's a good job. It's a great job. I worked hard for it, but I don't love it anymore. So when my contract came up in February, and I had already told management, months prior to that, I just chose to leave news because it wasn't bringing me joy. And at that point, I'd started KTLA Unscripted, and that was kind of where I wanted my life to go, more lifestyle. I'm super into health and fitness, and so I have a sort of segment, if you will, on the show, Healthy Vibes. So, anything that is around health and wellness that works for me, I want to share that with others. Like, that's what brings me joy. That's what I'm passionate about. On social media, I cover a lot of things that help me, and I share that with my viewers, with my followers, just because I think that why not? If it helps me, maybe it'll help you, and then you'll have a better quality of life. And that's rewarding. That's basically where my passion led me, and that's why I chose to leave the news. So there's your answer, a very, very long answer to your very short question.
So where and how can people watch KTLA Unscripted?
Monday through Friday at 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. So yeah, 7 p.m.
7 p.m. Yes. Let's not compete with the #1 morning
Right.
news show. And
Exactly.
let's simmer down now, people.
Exactly.
And also on the KTLA Plus app.
Yes, exactly.
Don't forget the KTLA Plus app, Liberty.
And
Um,
that link will be in the show notes. Yeah. Right.
yes, that link will be in the show notes. Thank you. So
Yeah.
your mom, did she watch you every weekend morning?
She never watched me.
Okay, because I was trying to look for maybe a tie-in, like, you know what, I used to do this because I knew mom was watching, but now it's like mom was never watching.
She was never watching because sleep was so important to her, and that's what
Yeah.
she instilled in me. And it would crush her to see me, because on the morning show you wake up very early, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and doing that for many, many years, that affects your health. And so for someone who's really concerned about health and wellness, like I was a zombie. I was showing up. I literally felt sick all the time. And it just energetically was so draining. And sleep is very important. So I think the biggest change for me is that I can get 8 hours of sleep a night. And that's like, whoo, talk about anti-aging. Wow.
That's huge. That's huge. Yeah, and it's funny that you're like, she instilled in me to just get rest, just to make sure I sleep. By the way, my shift starts at 3 in the morning.
Exactly. And she's like, you need to nap. I can see it in your eyes. You have bags. And I'm like, I'm sorry, mom, but I'm working. And
yeah, but the naps don't help. The naps, no, you could take all the naps in the world and look at me. I have. Oh, sorry, I'm blocking the logo. Look at me. I have. But there is nothing that can replace the sleep you lose by working morning shifts.
100%. And so now it's like I'm sleeping better, and just on social media, Instagram, that's another thing that I'm doing. So now I guess you could call me a quote unquote influencer, but I feel like it's more than that. I want to share things that work for me. I'm not just doing it for financial gain. I'm doing it because I really do love this product, and that's why I'm going to share it. So it's like that. And not every product or thing that I share is a paid campaign.
Right.
But that's another thing that I love to do. And being in the news business, you really can't do that. So now not being under contract has given me the freedom to do that. So that's also fun.
And we have discussed the vegan side of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I even 2 years removed from our previous podcast conversation, it has become even more easy to be a vegan.
Oh my gosh.
I cannot even tell people how many options there are. You got to know that there are a lot of options when Costco has an entire section dedicated to it.
And fast food restaurants.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's a huge shift.
And it's not always the healthiest. I will tell you that right now. Just because you're vegan doesn't mean you're healthy.
Oh, yeah. You could have French fries and
yes.
every day.
But what are some tips if somebody's listening to this thinking like, you know what, I've thought about going vegan, but I don't know if I can or if I should. What are some recommendations you have? Because I mean, you helped Luis transition. I know he spent a couple of years vegan, but you helped Luis transition out of what he was eating into a better diet and lifestyle.
Yes. So he's always been very health conscious, but yes, he did have a few years where he was very heavy. And then, anyways, we'll get into that on another show. But for some quick tips, I think it was easier for me to become vegan because I was pescatarian for about 12 years since college. And then I became full vegan a few years back. But I think try to just incorporate a couple meals a week, that are mostly plant-based, or choose a plant-based option for something. So a lot of greens. For me, my philosophy behind what I eat is just predominantly plants. Just a little bit of healthy fats. I'm okay with carbs, especially complex carbohydrates. I try to stay away from, the refined sugars and starches, but I think I love healthy food. I love the way it makes you feel. And I think for people, instead of subtracting stuff from your diet, try to just add some stuff. So basically, if you add more plants, maybe you're going to eat less of that meat or less of the potato chips and French fries, you know, maybe grab the crudité and some hummus and some, you know, baba ganoush,
Yeah.
whatever you fancy.
And a lot of it also, I went raw vegan for a week earlier this month. I felt like I needed a reset. I was feeling just kind of heavy and just weighted down, sluggish. And I said, you know what? I'm already vegan. What can I do? Because I was eating too much processed stuff. I was eating too much of the fake stuff, if you will, the fake meat, or the cheeses or whatever.
Yeah.
And one of the things, I mean, you go raw vegan, you're going to get more energy because you're putting like pure energy into your body. Yes. However, I feel like much of the energy I actually achieved during that week was the pride in knowing exactly what I was putting into my body. I could pronounce everything because I learned these words as a kid. Strawberry, cherry, mango, you know, just these things that it's like I didn't have to get a degree to be able to learn these words.
Eat things that don't have a nutrition label on them. Eat real whole foods. Stay away from the processed stuff. So if you kind of go with those concepts, you're going to have an easier time with that. So yeah, I don't eat a lot of the meat alternative. I enjoy it, you know, Beyond Meat, love it. The cheese, the vegan cheese, they're great, but I don't have it all the time. I think of it like just like how anyone would with regular meat. You know, you don't eat a hamburger every day, maybe once a week. So that's how I feel about the more processed stuff that is still vegan.
Before we get too far away from our chat about the KTLA Weekend Morning News, I told Jim Lanahan that I would play for you a clip of him. Now, you've already seen that clip because I wasn't sure exactly when his episode would post relative to when I was going to talk to you. So you've already seen him. And this is where in the podcast, I'm going to actually insert the audio of Jim asking you if he could be your flower girl at your wedding, your upcoming wedding.
Right.
What is your reply to Jim Lanahan?
Jim, I adore you. I think you're amazing, hilarious. I've gotten your DMs. I've watched what you've said on the KTLA Weekend Show about watching the KTLA Weekend Show. We're going to keep it really, really tight. The circle.
Here she goes.
Here
she goes.
But if it was open and it wasn't during, you know, COVID, post-COVID times, and we had a larger venue, there might be a possibility to have you there. But
Did you just let him down easy? Did I just hear you let him down easy?
It warms my heart that he you know wants to go, for one. Gosh, this better be a good wedding, first off. I just feel so supportive and loved, and that's pretty much what it's all about. And he's just been such a bright light. You know, there are so many haters on social media. I don't know how they find the time to do that, but they do, and they write to you. And he's just, if he catches wind of a comment, he'll send me a DM and say, listen. And you know how he's fantastic. He's fantastic. And he's great. Lays it out there. And he's like, don't worry about it. Whatever, it's fine. You know, and I always think it's like, if you're going to spend the time to do that, just make sure you're perfect before you judge me. You know, it's like, come on.
On social media, especially in news, I know you're not news anymore, but nonetheless, we have to at some point draw a line like, okay, this is professional, and I'm not really going to put anything personal on there, or not that much of my personal life on there. You've been really good about putting, I feel like, enough of your personal life out there so that it's not just, I am a TV robot and I have nothing going on in my life except for news.
And I can wear a pretty dress.
Right. No, you can't anymore because you gave them all to Casey Montoya.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's just about 10% of the closet. She still has a few more bags. I have like probably 5 more at least today. I have 5 more trash bags of clothing to give her.
Let's just say bags. Let's not say trash bags.
Okay, bags. Pretty reusable bags.
But the idea though that, okay, not only am I going to put my engagement on social media, but this whole wedding process is going to be it's going to kind of play out. Talk about the decision to go there and the response.
I think the response has been tremendous. Every time I post anything about the engagement or the wedding, I get a flood of comments that are supportive, which I wasn't sure if it would be well received, but thankfully it has. And I really just think people want something to talk about that's nice, something that to celebrate. And who doesn't love love? I mean, I don't know. So I just think it's so fun. And the people who I've been working with, whether it be the dress person or the veil person or the wedding planner, they're really busy all of a sudden because during the pandemic, everything was canceled or put on hold or delayed, whatever it is. And now all of these venues, hotels, and private estates, like they're packed and they're booked up for the next year or two. So I think weddings are sort of a big deal right now. And it just seems, I met my veil designer earlier this week, and she said, I have never been busier. It's like the wedding planner, I've never been busier. Like this, everyone wants to get married. Everyone just was putting it on hold to have a celebration. I think people just want to celebrate. The man is from Peru, and so many people have already booked their tickets, 6 months in advance. They're lining up the hotels, and it's just something to look forward to because everyone's been stuck at home.
Yeah. The idea also that you've made such a connection with people through KTLA and through your social media, and it's not as if you have been posting for years like, oh, woe is me. Why can't I find a man? Why can't I just followers? Yeah. So it's not as if you have been posting things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also people see like, oh, wow, we thought Liberty was happy before. We thought Liberty was this beacon of positivity before. Now it's just there's a glow. There's a glow that just, it's not that it wasn't there before, but that it's glowier now.
Oh, thank you so much. And I'm so glad you said that because there have been so many comments like, oh, now you're with Luis and now you don't have to work, and all these grand assumptions like, oh, and now you're doing this and that just because you have, Luis in your life. And I'm like, I was good before.
Right. You do understand Luis doesn't have to work anymore, right? You do understand that, right?
Like no, we were both equal people. We weren't like, it's crazy to me, the grand assumptions that people make. But anyways, no, he is definitely glowy. He makes me glowy, sparkly. I was happy before, and he was as well. And I think it's important to love yourself and be a very strong individual person first, and not, try to find someone to rescue you. I think that you need to rescue yourself first, and then whatever you emit, you attract. And so if you're coming from a place of love and strength and confidence and you're a whole person, you will attract someone very similar to you.
Not to ask you to put words in their mouths, but how has the relationship with his kids gone? You met them just as you met him, but nobody in that scenario knew that, within a year and a half or whatever it was, like, oh, by the way, totally getting married.
Right.
So walk me through some of those conversations.
It was nerve-wracking. I was very, very scared because I've never dated anyone with kids. I've never been with anyone with kids. And so I was nervous, and I didn't meet his children until I'd say 2 months after we started dating, and we kind of kept it on the down low. And I understand that it's
Hey,
you're
kids, you remember that lady from the plane? Yeah, no, she's here. She's here. We're having dinner. We've been dating for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Right.
There's that. And so so I think at one point, like, he just said, like, oh, we're friends. And then I think he got a text from his daughter once, like, oh, you're friends on TV. And his daughter is, she was 23 at the time. She was an adult, but like, we still didn't tell her that we were dating. But then the boys were the ones that kind of just figured it out. They're like, you keep talking about her. Like, are you sure you're friends? And he's like, oh, like they went on a trip to Mammoth, and it was 2 months after we started dating. And he would like look at something. He's like, oh, Liberty did that. Liberty likes the sunrise too. Oh, Liberty likes the sea. And they're like, why do you keep talking about this random girl?
This is Liberty, Liberty, Liberty.
And he's like, oh. So I guess I met Alicia first, and I was so scared. I had butterflies in my stomach. I think I was more nervous to meet her than go on my first date with Elise. And we just hit it off. The kids have never really bonded with, or so I'm told, they've never really bonded with any of the people who he's dated in the past. They haven't really loved all the people he's dated in the past. Loved or respected, I guess, would be a better way to put it. But not throwing anyone under the bus. But I don't know, yeah. It was so organic and so easy, and just, they're texting me, and now we say I love you to each other. And it's like, oh my gosh, I now have 3 grown children? Like, what?
Yeah. No, here's the thing. Are they?
I don't know.
Are they your stepchildren? Are you stepmom now? Is that what's happening?
I guess so, but I don't.
I think a conversation needs to be had. That you're a few months away from the wedding. You need to decide at some point. You did just.
It was Mother's Day, and they all said Happy Mother's Day, and I look at my phone and I go, wait, am I a mom now? So again, I'm stepping into that role, bringing it full circle of matriarch, because there's nobody else who can do it. Right. So I'm happy to do it, and they're just so lovely. And so we're going to incorporate them into the wedding and do a whole, unity candle of some sort. And
that's sweet.
And Alicia is just, all the kids. I love all the kids, but Alicia is like, I call her little one, even though she's taller than me. But we share clothes. We wear the same size shoe. It's like.
Oh, that's perfect. I was going to ask if she has raided the closet.
Oh yeah.
Like your friends at KTLA.
She loves hand-me-downs.
If anybody, and again, go to Instagram at Liberté Chan.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, she can't put the little accent mark on the Instagram username. But just scroll down, and I'll try to find it. I'll put it in the show notes. Your closet tour. Talk to me just briefly here.
Yeah.
How dreamy was it to design that, and how long did it take for it to just come together?
So the house that
fully understanding, by the way, this is luxury. Okay, this is luxury. I'm talking to Liberté Chan about luxury at this point.
Right. So I love clothes. I have a lot of clothes, especially working in news and on the weather wall. I have a lot of clothes.
None of them green. Go ahead.
None of them green. 2 dresses. But I moved into one of the houses that Mama Chan had built, and it already had a beautiful closet. And so we kind of just had to enhance it a little, if you will. Yeah. So it took about 2 months to design and build and all of that good stuff. But
we're talking about like the dry cleaners, conveyor belt. Right. We're talking about.
Who doesn't look clueless? So when she originally designed this house, it was 10 years ago, and she put in that rolling rack, I guess you could call it, which you see at a dry cleaners, which some people love it, some people hate it, but it works.
How do you not like that? How do you?
I love it, but for some people, everyone has an opinion.
Not on that. That would be awesome.
I like it.
I have because I'm talking to you from my late wife's closet. I've converted it into a studio slash. I don't want to say game room because that implies that people come in here to play games, but all of her board games and things like that are in here, and studio equipment and everything. My closet, however, has everything that was in her closet and all that was already in my closet.
Mhm.
So I don't even have room for a conveyor belt
Right.
or whatever that is that you want to call it.
Right.
The clueless automation system.
Right.
But no, that is a spectacular closet.
Yeah,
Spectacular.
she did well. Mama Chan could design a great house and a great closet.
So what do you have left to do between now and wedding time that
Whew.
you feel like, okay, I don't have a handle on this yet. Who am I going to hire? What am I going to do?
Okay, so I have the dress. Actually, I have 2 dresses. There will be 3, but the third dress, they're all sort of being sewn together and designed, I guess.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask, were you talking about like pictures, ceremony, reception, or it's like you have 3 dresses that are going to be combined into one?
So I have 3 dresses. So one of the dresses I'm going to wear down the aisle, and then I'll have a reception dress, and then the man, Luis,
He'll have a third dress. I understand. Go on.
I have a third dress for like the dance.
Okay.
He loves to dance. You know, he's Latin and he loves dancing. So we have a little routine, which I should probably practice. And I'm a little bit nervous. Out of everything at the wedding, that's what I'm most nervous about, the dance.
The dance.
Portion of it. But,
Okay.
you know, I'm the little ice skater and I can practice and I can train for that. So I have to do that over the next 5 months or so. I have not found a photographer or musical, entertainment people. So
Okay.
that's pretty much what I need to do.
Now, are you soliciting for those? Like if
No.
somebody's listening to this and they're like,
If you can play a violin really, really well, I need someone as I'm walking down the aisle. I need a great DJ who can play with a band. So that's, for the reception. So yeah, I mean, if anyone has any ideas, I'm open to suggestions.
you don't want just Andy Reesmeyer and his band? Just
I mean, if he's great, sure. I'm open to anyone, this is, I don't typically have parties with, bands and DJs and violinists. So we'll see.
Liberty, it was so good catching up. Let's not go another 2 years before we catch up again.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for allowing me to share so much. And yes, not another 2 years.
Thanks for watching the Aron Bender podcast, whether it's on YouTube or nightly at 11 p.m. Pacific, 2 a.m. Eastern on DBNA TV, streaming at dbnatelevision.tv or on the DBNA app on Amazon Fire, on Apple TV, on Roku. You can find me at aronbender.com. Email me guest ideas or comments, aronbendermedia@gmail.com. Be well, and thanks for watching.